Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of Ladies Wrestling Showcase. I almost lost count, but I'm glad I didn't. um, I'm your host, Astrid, here with my co-host, Melball. How you doing, Mel?
I am doing amazing, Astrid. It is a beautiful snowy day. It is not too cold. It is, well, I can't say it's warm because it's snowing because it's cold. But I just wrapped up viewing some amazing tournaments from Japanese wrestling, both NJPW and Stardom. I have got to say, I am exhausted from watching just amazing wrestling for the last month. But how are you doing today, my friend?
I was going to say, you have the cold and I have the heat being here in Florida, even though it's kind of
I'll
chilly,
trade
but
you.
not really. So I like our opposite ends. No, I'm very tired too. A lot of work this week, but being that I like how as we were brainstorming for the topics today, we had a topic in mind, and then so many things happened through the week and just changed our whole plans, but in a good way though. I'm
Mhm.
glad at the same time that we have something different to talk about this week than what we have planned out, to be honest. Just because it brings up a lot of conversations. It's something that's fresh in the wrestling community. So I figured, being the ladies in the wrestling community, we can discuss it. And I know we've seen a lot of guys talking about it, and
Mhm.
it's like I'm getting tired of the male perspective at this point. So I'm glad
Yeah.
at streamers we're talking about it. I did want to start with the newest story from today, with Sasha Banks dash Mercedes. For those of you that haven't read, I don't even know who had the original report this time because I've seen it so many times by now. But long story short, Mercedes is officially gone from WWE. Uh, she didn't renew her contract. Apparently, one of the reasons is that she wanted to get paid as much as Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. Hello, Ed. Thank you for stopping by.
Hi, Ed.
She said she wanted to get paid as much as Charlotte and Becky, and they were not willing to fulfill that, so she left. And apparently, one of the notes, one of this report, along with the other ones through the whole week, is that not only she's going to be in Wrestle Kingdom, but she's going to be having a few days with New Japan and Stardom as well. So I figure you being an expert in that end of it, you can give us our perspective on that part. So like first to begin, it's just like, how do you? Ah, thank you. I don't
Aw,
have it on, but yeah, thank you.
you can do the United
um,
Empire crown. That one works.
not true. So you being like the New Japan expert, how do you feel thinking of like somebody with the name of Sasha Banks not only appears not as Sasha Banks anymore, but probably as Mercedes on a New
Mhm.
Japan or both a Stardom show too?
It would be very, very interesting to see the capacity in which she would be used at Wrestle Kingdom, as the card has already been announced, and it looks like there's only going to be one women's match on the Wrestle Kingdom card, which is going to be Tam Nakano versus Kairi for the IWGP Women's Championship. Um, if Mercedes is going to be there in a capacity that she is challenging for wrestling, I would assume that she is going to be making her entrance after the conclusion of that match to potentially challenge for the IWGP Championship, which, let's be honest, I mean, like seeing Mercedes versus Kyrie would be absolutely insane. I feel that the attitude that Sasha has really kind of grown into as she's matured in her career would fit very, very well among the ranks of Stardom. Um, there's been some chitter chat that like they wanted her on like Bullet Club or something like that. To be honest, I mean, NJPW itself doesn't have a lot of women in their kind of thing. I think they have two women, Peter, who is just the Tokyo Pimps dancing bunny, and Miho Abe, who is essentially the muse to Tai Chi. They don't really do anything functional. That being said, we did see when the United Empire did start, we saw B. Priestley while she was still with Will Ospreay. I'm kind of getting involved in that. I would personally love to see women getting more involved in the NJPW kind of thing. So I wouldn't mind seeing her join a faction. I don't think it should be Bullet Club. But I think it would be cool to see her join a faction in NJPW and represent them in that respect. But on the flip side, with Stardom, I would actually really love to see her in the Stardom ranks for sure. She would do very, very well over there. Um, with a faction wise, I would almost think that she would actually fit very well in Queen's Quest, which is my personal favorite faction coming out of Stardom, headed by Utami Hayashi Shida. You got Saya Kamitani, who we spoke about on the PWI 150 list. You have Azumi, who I have praised the heck out of. those two together could be Azumi and Sasha Banks could be one hell of a high speed tag team. Um, I think that this could be very, very good for Sasha Banks and her career. And it seems like she's been doing a lot outside of this also, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Astrid?
Yeah, I know she's been doing it. She kind of teased she Bailey had her recently on an Instagram live, so there's been people that's been recorded it, and
Okay.
there's little things she said, like I think she's like kind of a beauty slash makeup brand coming up soon. She already has a CBD company as well with
Hmm.
somewhere there, so as it is, because they're really close friends behind the scenes. So they're
Hmm.
together doing that company. She's been, I think, in a magazine talking about the company as well so far.
Hmm.
And she's been doing like it was New York Fashion Show doing the runway with Naomi as well. So they
Hmm.
had a couple like shows like that. And they went to a couple premieres together because they were, I think, the Black Panther premiere, and I
Hmm.
think she was another premiere not too long ago. I don't know if it was She-Hulk, but I know it was another premiere as well. Plus, not only that, you have her in Star Wars as it is too. So I
Hmm.
think she, for the time that she's been off, she's been doing so much as it is. It's like, to me, it's bittersweet because I love Sasha. Like, I really, really love her. But at this point, I'm thinking, like, if you think you could be more successful and you're gonna want to take that risk at the same time and that chance on yourself, do it. You never know.
Hmm.
And then, like, a lot of people were, I saw somebody comparing her to, like, Cody Rhodes, and that's a good example to think about, because they said, what if she just takes this time to, like, make herself like more worth, and grow her worth in a way, like the way
Hmm.
Cody did in the Indies, but her being outside of WWE altogether, have her worth, grow that from there, grow her, like, herself, her company, and her face, and other than WWE, and just return a couple years later. You never know.
Hmm.
So I think that's something that we could point out, that it could happen with her, because you can tell she's passionate about wrestling. So she's not going to stop wrestling just like that, the way it
Hmm.
just happened just now. I don't see her quitting it. I just see her taking, like, moments here and there to make moments for herself outside of there. I
Hmm.
wanted to go to Ed's question. I was saving it for you here. How many days is Wrestle Kingdom 17? Oh, 2 days.
It's going
Oh,
to be 2 days.
interesting.
So the first one is going to be January 4th, which is like a Wednesday, which is like, yeah, thanks, guys. That's going to be fun. With that show, I believe yesterday that the show is actually, the pre show starts at 2 a.m. and the actual show starts at 3 a.m. I can tell you right now, I'm probably going to be like completely running on rogue energy by that point. Like the last show was hard, and we started I think at about 1 and we went until almost 6. So that this one's going to be a long one. And then the second show, it actually is happening later in the month. I can't remember the exact date. I have to look at my calendar here, but I know it's more mid January is the second one, and that one is also more on a weekend, which is a more permissible time to watch something. I believe it's happening on the 14th of January, the second night. I would have to double check and confirm that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting thinking about it on a Wednesday, because imagine the fans watching Dynamite and they're gonna have to take a little break in between if they can, and then to be able to watch that afterwards if they can. And plus,
Mhm.
a lot of people working, so a lot of people are probably gonna miss it overnight like that. So I
Yeah,
wonder
hey,
how that will
we
go down.
managed to secure a special guest for that night to come view with us, so I'm pretty excited.
Mm. I wanted to go to hear Ed's comment. Sasha's mainstream appeal is overrated currently. She's immensely talented, but her desire to do 1 million things outside of wrestling will make her less valuable to some people. I just,
I
I
mean,
know
to
she's
the
trying to do a good.
wrestling people. Maybe to the
Yeah, I know
wrestling
she.
people, but it makes her name more marketable to everybody else on the market right now, right?
Mhm. Yeah, that's why I understand she's trying to do like a million things at the same time, but you gotta kind of have, her name is like hot right now, basically, as somebody outside of
Mhm.
WWE. So might as well take advantage of that at the moment, because you never know what the opportunities are gonna stop. So if you're gonna get that opportunity
100%.
now, take it, because you never know when it's gonna come around again. So it's something that I thought about for her, at least, because having her and do like so many things, I never thought of, like, her doing the CBD company, beauty line, a New York fashion show, movie premieres. And I was like, holy crap, girl! I thought you were gonna be quiet for a while, but I guess not. Um,
I mean, I'm not let's be honest, going to a movie premiere isn't a lot of work. You just show up and be beautiful, right? But you also got to keep in mind if she's doing a million things at once right now, how many millions of dollars is she making while doing those millions of things? She might be doing a million of things right now, but this could be her quiet phase where she kind of, slowly kind of steps back into the bushes and is still training and is still doing things, and then can reemerge from the bushes, as you said, a few months, years, who knows how much time later, to be able to kind of tackle it again. I think this is just a new chapter for Sasha Banks. I don't suspect this is the last that the wrestling world is going to see of her, and I don't think this is the last that anybody else is going to see of her, because her putting her name out there, it draws attention to professional wrestling also, while she's out there doing these other things. Because while we're freaking out that, oh my gosh, Sasha Banks is on the Mandalorian, everyone else is going, why are the wrestling fans freaking out about this girl? So it's potentially bringing in more fans for the wrestling, also maybe for the WWE, maybe for elsewhere, now that she's potentially going to be at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, and another aspect I wanted to also discuss is the fact that, well, not the fact, but like the point of in the report of like she wanted to get paid as much as Charlotte and Becky, and basically it came like she's not getting paid as well as they are. And it's interesting to think about because what aspect of her makes it that she gets paid less than them? Because if you think about it from their resume,
Mhm.
they all have been champions, they all have main events at WrestleMania, all the four horsemen, they have worked their butts
Yeah.
up since they've been in NXT even now. So just it makes me wonder what else happened there aside from that. Because like I said, she's one of those
Mhm.
right now, she's one of the big names of like the people that have been there the longest now in the women's division, WWE. So just thinking about like how come she didn't get paid as much, it just brings me also to the conversation of not only is there a gap between her and the other girls, but the gap of like we have a lot of women that probably get paid a lot less than the guys do as well. And just
Mhm.
is bringing up that discussion as well of we
Mhm.
know most likely the guys are getting paid more than the girls. And it's always
Mhm.
been like one thing that has been brought up about having equal wages for them too. And it's like
Mhm.
a lot of the girls are just as popular as the guys. So I think they deserve to have, to get paid just as much as they do. So it's interesting to think about like the girls have they kind of they were brought up together from NXT up until now. So they came in around the same time. So why are two getting paid about the same and one's getting paid less? So I don't know, what did you think about that part?
Yeah, the difference in wage is always something that I've never been a fan of within professional wrestling, because I look at the quarters and I say, okay, you guys are doing 26 billion a quarter. Mm, why are your wrestlers still struggling, and why are they choosing to do these outward things? Well, because they're getting more money. Something also we got to keep in mind is for the women specifically in this kind of line of business, in North America especially, we don't see it so much in Japan. They put more emphasis on the outfits than the overall appearance. But like the women in North America, when they're wrestling, they don't just have the pressure to be good in the ring. They have a pressure to look a certain way in the ring, because fans online will tear people apart for the slightest things. And you've watched watch-alongs with me. You know how critical I can be of certain things. But that's what being said, why is she being paid so less when the cost of maintenance for that societal standard, or that standard within the company, costs? Yeah, the guys have their costs that they have to also do too. The memberships for the gyms, if they have to go to the gyms, if they can't use the performance center, but like and the hair stuff too, sure. And the clothing, obviously, but these are all things that the women are dealing with on top of having to deal with hair and makeup. And as someone who's wearing a full face of makeup right now, I can tell you right now that the products on my face, I'm probably wearing at least a couple $100 worth of stuff on my face. It's not cheap to be Mandy Rose. It's not cheap to look like Sasha Banks. It's not cheap to look like Bianca Belair or Rhea Ripley, especially when she's got the black lipstick. It's expensive. So that that the money was like the negotiation for the money was a problem really does kind of bother me a little bit. I don't know a whole ton about this story or the WWE, but I do know that I don't like hearing that asking for more money when you're putting your body on the line multiple days a week for a company. I don't feel that asking for more money would be something that would should be or would be a problem, especially again because of how marketable Sasha Banks is within the company. And I do see that Ed had mentioned a
Mm-hmm.
question
Yeah.
in there Is Sasha Banks marketable, or is Mercedes marketable? Both of them are. You know, she has made both these names marketable for herself because the fans in the WWE want Sasha Banks back. They're asking for it. They're demanding it. They're clearly not getting it, but they're asking.
Mhm.
Um, Mercedes also in demand because look at all the million and one things that she's doing outside of professional wrestling. You know, Mercedes can pretty much market herself wherever she wants at this point, and she can be marketable. And really, all she has to do is show up because she really does seem to live the gimmick that she portrays.
Yeah, it just like you said, thinking back of like all these factors, how why is she getting paid less than the other girls and things like that, and it's just incredible to think about like when they have about I don't want to say the same amount, but like similar amount of experience in what they
Mm,
have done as well, and it's like I said, it's bittersweet for me. I love Sasha Banks, and there's so many moments so far within storyline with Damage Control that I would have brought her in with Naomi. And that's another thing I wanted to discuss as well because a lot of people keep talking about Mercedes and then forget about Naomi. They both
mhm.
worked out together. So a preliminary report on that ends that Naomi was given an options like you either return with Mercedes, you go somewhere else, or you go home. So I wonder when it comes to her, it's like, do we see her returning in the next couple of weeks now that Sasha's gone officially? I say it because I feel like she fits so well in the storylines in the women's division right now. And even like I said before, it's just I love how it's been going on Raw. We have a little bit happening with the girls. We have so many storylines happening at the same time that do not involve the championship, which has been very important to see there. And but at the same time, I don't see that happening often on SmackDown. So that's why I feel like Mercedes and Naomi leaving. It's just that they leave that gap in there that it's SmackDown's lacking right now in their star power. And being that Charlotte has been absent as well from SmackDown, there's I feel like there's a lot to fill in when it comes to the SmackDown Women's division. So thinking back, I'm like, is this the time that Naomi should return as well? I feel like she could easily fit in on these storylines and make her champion as it is as well, because I feel like she fits well in SmackDown, and I feel like it will bring star power there too. I'm hoping that Charlotte returns sometime soon too, because I feel like they really need that star power going to SmackDown. But it's like, how do you know? What do you think about the fact that maybe Naomi can return in the next couple of weeks, maybe or months, now that Sasha's gone?
I would love to see that. I personally have missed her. She's always been one of my personal favorites. I just don't understand why it is that I guess it was the Vince regime at that point that was really holding her back. But it felt like it was almost intentional and purposeful. You know, the crowd wanted to see her. They were behind her. They're still behind her. It's unfortunate to see how that went with Naomi's exit. Would I love to see her back? Absolutely. I want to see her working. And especially since, you know, her husband is working still with the company, it would make sense to me. You know, she may have married in, but she's still technically Usi. You know, you
Yes,
guys
Susie.
didn't punish them for their bullish. You know, why is she being punished? So, as far as I'm concerned, I would love to see her back. I hope they bring her back. It would be smart to bring her back. Um, I don't watch WWE, but I'm going to like I feel that she classes up anything that she kind of walks into. So I'm going to back what you say and say that the division needs her.
Yeah, I think back of Naomi, especially when she returned at the Rumble and returning with her like natural hair and the way she looked so beautiful there in that clip.
Mm,
And just seeing how many people responded to that without knowing who she is too. And that's something that always stuck to me after that return. Is just the fact that so many people are talking about her and sharing that clip every now and then. And it has so many views of one of the biggest clips I've seen from the Rumble was that one. It's like, how did you not capitalize on what she has? It's like she has a gimmick that you can easily do so many things that glow in the freaking dark. Come
mhm,
on. It's like there's so many things you can build up from there. And she could easily be one of the best sellers if you end up bringing like any kind of merch that has to do with glow in the dark, because that's what she's been doing.
mhm,
I also think like she could easily return and do something different, and still people are gonna enjoy her.
mhm,
I feel like she's been there long enough that they could do more with her and push her
mhm,
like the way they have done with like the four horsewomen or even Ronda to begin with. I feel like she's that type of person that she's a like the company can depend on her. And I feel like whenever they kind of had her highlighted, and then it just went downhill, and it's been like a roller coaster with her in that aspect. And I want to see her like more consistently being shown on TV. I would love to see that. And it's like I always thought, I was like, that would be cool if she even joined the Bloodline. It was like I would like to see some female presses in there. As much as I love the group, I would like to see a female representation there. So I think that's
Mhm.
something that could be interesting to see as well, of like her taking over the women's division as part of the bloodline. Like imagine like making the bloodline even more important. It's like we took over, the heavyweight titles. We took over the tag team titles. Can we take over the women's title now? With like having somebody like Naomi join in with them.
Mhm.
Plus, like I said before, everything happening with Ronda. Not a fan of it. I don't mind having Shayna in there because they're close friends. But if it makes like Shayna will be champion later, sure. But this Ronda stuff is not it for me, and the way she's been like handled as a champion. So I wouldn't mind seeing somebody like Naomi getting built up to defeat Ronda and be champion. And I feel like you can easily market her in such a way that people will be happy about it. And I feel like now, especially that she's been off TV for so long, whenever she returns, I feel like definitely she's gonna get that reaction from the crowd that we hope and
Mhm.
expect her to get. Like we saw, I feel like Tegan returning was like half and half because some people missed her, but some
Mhm.
people didn't know her as well because she wasn't there often when
Mhm.
she was in the main roster. And like I feel like now that people will see her more often, they will kind of like end up liking her. So that's why I want something to happen there. Like bring somebody in that will give that boost. And I'm hoping between her and Charlotte they will return soon to give that boost to the SmackDown Women's division.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
100%.
yeah, another aspect that I wanted to discuss as well. I know it's kind of old news at this point, what
Mhm.
it feels like in the Western community, but I also want to talk about the Mandy Rose release.
Mhm.
Um, for anybody, I think everybody pretty much knows what happened at this point. I want to talk about different points of view when it comes to this, because I understand she violated a part of her contract, but I feel like compared to her male counterparts, I feel like a lot of guys do things that are worse than what she did,
Mhm.
and they barely get punished, and they get championship matches, and they don't get anything negatively, like they don't get affected in
Mhm.
that way, versus she did. It's I knew, and I have Ed in the comments to even say it too. When NXT ended, and even when the show started, when they announced the women's championship match, I kept thinking this is strange, and I had a feeling that it wasn't, what I hoped it would be. And then I trust me, I'm a Roxanne fan, but having Mandy lose the way she did after such a like iconic reign, it felt really disappointing as well. It
Mhm.
just like I said, just having it on a random NXT night, not even advertised ahead of time, it just happened during the show. And I feel like this could have led to something happening closer to WrestleMania and kind of boosted the women's division and NXT in that aspect. So it was very surprising to see not only that we get Mandy losing the championship on Tuesday, but then getting released on Wednesday. I feel like it's one of those things that she could have easily been suspended beforehand, or even been told like we're gonna get you off TV for a while we discuss how we're gonna deal with this forward. And then whenever we're both in agreement, like as a company and her as an individual, then we'll continue to bring her back on TV. But I don't want to say upsetting, but it's just upsetting to see a woman being like treated the way she was. It
Mhm.
just, like you said earlier as well, just like it makes you think, like, why is it that the wrestlers have to tune into other ways to earn their money? It just
Mhm.
shows you that they're even getting treated as independent contractors is not enough. They need to do better when it comes to like the way they treat them and the way they get paid. So I wanted to get your thoughts on it because I know I got to talk about it with Ed on Wednesday a little bit, but I haven't
Mhm.
heard your thoughts about the Mandy situation.
Yeah, it's a very interesting situation because myself, I've worked in a larger business, so I've had to deal with contracts and stuff like that. I understand the importance of them, and I understand that they're binding. They're a legally binding contract. That being said, though, I do feel that how this situation, in particular, on the outside looking in and not knowing so much about it, just putting that out there. Um, it feels like a very disappointing way to deal with a situation that when you look at the grander scheme of it was something so minuscule on the scale of severity of the things that certain people have done within that company. And you'd mentioned the beginning there, that the male counterparts aren't very punished as well as this. Velveteen Dream was doing a lot of bad-ish in this company. He was still signed with it for months while they investigated it. I feel like, when you have something to do with children, you need to not sit there and still pay the guy to be a part of the company. That should have been an immediate dismissal. It wasn't. It was a very obvious, male support there. Then we go to the Usos, who both have DUIs. One recently, and they were punished for that by being not only given another title that to add to the one that they already had, but now they're the longest reigning champions, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that does not seem appropriate for potential attempted murder, essentially. Like, what would have happened if one of them had, goodness forbid, hit somebody and hurt themselves or somebody else? And like the list goes on. You can see there's so many things and examples. Randy Orton is an example. Jimmy Snuka, another example. Even Bray Wyatt has had a DUI. Like, it's just, there's so many things that just do very obviously get swept under the rug. But then you have a situation like this with Mandy. You had the situation with Zelina. You had the situation with Lana. Why? Again, going back, it is expensive to be a woman in their position, not just in general, like in their position, because of the standards that they are contractually obligated to uphold to. Mandy Rose doesn't want to wake up every day looking like Mandy Rose. She has a lot of work to do to look like Mandy Rose. And that costs a lot of money. And it bothers me. It seems like a very shotgun reaction here, because again, I do understand, Mattel had an issue with the contract. Oh my God, nipples. You know what, guys? Ken dolls have nipples. They always have. I'm just putting it out there. I've never been offended by it. Goodness forbid. Put them on your Barbies. Like, or even better, start putting out toys that actually look like the people that you're actually putting out there. Like, that would help us a lot. Like, this was a dumb decision. It was a shotgun decision. I think that it should have been treated in the same way that Velveteen Dream was. And that it was, as you mentioned, take her off TV, reprimand her for 30 days, tell her she's not getting paid for 30 days, do something to satisfy the shareholders in Mattel. But something tells me they didn't want her fired. Like, I feel like Mandy Rose would be a marketable person for them. I don't understand why the gun was jumped on this, because again, there's other ways to punish, and again, on the scale of severity, having a side boob is certainly a lot less severe to the children than weaponizing a car when you're not okay to drive it. It feels like a different, it doesn't feel like this is what the problem is based on the reaction. I feel based on this that there has to be more, because it's just not justifiable to me.
Yeah, and like the reports were saying, they already knew that she had the website that she was putting the content on, so they had knowledge of it. They just, I guess, between the fact that she filmed a couple of things on where they was booked at the moment, and so any locations that were in, and then they mentioned that the content was getting too strong for what they had. But at the same time, if you think about it this way, they probably wouldn't have known unless that person had not leaked it. Somebody leaked her footage, which is something that I mentioned with Ed when we discussed it on Wednesday too. Is when you're on the website, before you even subscribe, there's a big disclaimer, like a big paragraph, is long. It basically tells you this is something that if you see it, you don't share this content outside of this website. So I feel like if she's able for some way find out who leaked it, she can actually sue them for doing so, because they were not supposed to do that to begin with. Like I said, I understand that the content was mature, like very mature,
Mhm.
That I understand, but I just feel like they just went to the decision too quickly instead of just like
Mhm.
doing it slowly. Um, After that, I believe now in her website she's charging more than she was. A lot of people, I imagine with the everything, people are probably gonna start subscribing to her to give her that boost, knowing
Mhm.
that she lost her job as well. But another thing that came up was that she was earning more from that content that she was wrestling. So can you imagine, like, not only her as champion being featured on a weekly basis, she's still earning more by the content that she's doing, which she probably films on her phone most likely. So it's something very simple, and she's getting paid more by doing that than by actually wrestling on a company that she's been there for so long. Because she's been there, I think she's 2017, 2018, something along those lines. And even from being featured in Tough Enough up until now. But she's getting paid more by doing that. So imagine about the, like, we going back to that conversation of the wages. Imagine getting paid more by doing the simple content that she was doing in a way versus wrestling on a weekly basis from $1 billion company.
I'm just saying, I'm clearly in the wrong line of work here. I need to get a fake tan and some fake boobies and get some of that money flowing into my account. My goodness, to be making more sitting at home, just simply filming yourself doing whatever it is that you do at home versus putting your body on the line, like in some pretty severe situations. Like there's been some pretty serious injuries that come out of wrestling. To be paid less to do that, my dudes. And this brings me to something that we had mentioned privately, or that I had mentioned privately to you, is that
Mhm.
I'm very disappointed in this because I feel that Stephanie McMahon is in a position of power to do something about this. And that she is not is very telling to me about what her intentions were for this divas revolution or women's revolution that she wanted to be a part of and start for the company. She knows. I mean, look at her. She knows what the upkeep is. She looks just like one of her girls. She looks like a model to be out there wrestling. Uh, it bothers me to see H doing everything, H doing all the PR, knowing that she could have handled this, that she could have taken control of this and done something. I mean, she's trained to. She has the education for this. She's literally the head of the company. I feel that this probably should have been an opportunity for her to step up and defend her ladies, and I feel like she didn't. This is another opportunity that she could have done something and didn't. And I'm not liking it. Not liking it one bit, my friend. What do you think about that?
Mhm. It's just I keep thinking about it this way. I feel like Triple H has his, what I call his, the Triple H kids, because there's the people that you see him getting close to, like he celebrates their accomplishments,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like the protective father to a lot of them. And I wish like Stephanie would had a similar role with the ladies. It's like you don't have a lot of ladies in your roster compared to the guys, so it's like protect them in any way you can, because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the guys get more protective in that aspect. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Stephanie could step up and be that leader behind the scenes that Triple H is being to a lot of the NXT kids that he had. So I would like to see something like that moving forward, and just like stand up for the ladies. Like, yeah, I understand the content was mature, but you had ladies that were on the cover of Playboy not, so many years ago. And not only were they on the cover, you showed the cover on TV.
Mm-hmm.
You promoted that on, usually during WrestleMania, because they will come up
Mm-hmm.
and have those Playboy matches during WrestleMania.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
I remember the sable latex hands
Hmm.
spot on TV. There's also been several times where Stephanie herself has sensationalized her sexuality and had accidental exposure to the crowd. Um, again, it just disappoints me to see that I feel she could have done a little bit more. And I feel that she, kind of hands up and stepped back out of this situation. And yeah, I agree with you. I think there needs to be a little bit more protection happening for the ladies because it does kind of like H is doing his best. You can see with the celebration with Roxy after Mandy Rose's loss. He is there for the NXT roster, but he can only do so much. He needs the help. He needs her assistance, and the girls need her assistance. They need their boss's help. I would like to see her step up and kind of deal with it a little bit more going forward. And I would love to see this whole thing with Mandy Rose maybe resolved in a little bit better of a way, and that maybe we can see Mandy Rose come back to NXT and WWE. Um, just because I did say that before, like privately with you guys, that I thought I could see Mandy Rose in Stardom, and I could. I just think that she would do better and be happier in the environment that she was recently at, that being WWE and NXT.
Yeah, and that's also another thing that I kept thinking about, not only about her, but thinking about Gigi and JC, who are in this group with her for over a year
Mhm.
now. Is I hope that even though they were not part of this, because it's something that was her personal choice and her personal content, that were not involved in any shape or form, I hope they don't get punished for it, because I feel like the girls have been doing so well as a team in NXT. And even now, I feel like they could easily be called up to the main roster in the next couple of weeks, because they probably have nothing else for them in NXT at the moment, especially
Mhm.
without Mandy involved.
Mhm.
So I definitely, like I said, I want them to have bring that to the women's division, give it a little bit more boost, and bring new faces, and that's something that SmackDown needs. So I would like to see them go on to SmackDown, but I just hope they don't get negatively punished for something they were not involved in just because they were associated with her on screen.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's something that I also thought about going forward. But another thing that I was thinking about too, just like about Mandy Rose's future, because she could easily just keep making that content. She was obviously making more money in WWE than she was doing that. But I thought about her in like wrestling altogether. It's like,
Mhm.
where could we see Mandy Rose if she does decide to keep wrestling? There's been like back and forth about how many, like, the days that she has after her contract, whether she has 30 days because she was in NXT, or does
Mhm.
she have 90 days because she was in a main roster talent in NXT, but not necessarily an NXT talent like a lot of the girls on the weekly show. So to give
Mhm.
her more or less time, between she has between 30 to 90 days that she will not be on screen in another company. But you've been an outsider, for example, from your point of view, where could you see Mandy Rose going forward after, let's say, this 30 to 90 days are over? In what company do you see her if she does return to wrestling in any shape, way, or form? Because for me, I could see her fitting into Impact. This is the only company outside that I could see her going and fitting in there as well. And that's something I believe it was either Bully Ray or Tommy Dreamer that mentioned it in Busted Open. They said, I bet you if Tony Khan is not going to open his wallet, we know that Impact might do that and just capitalize on her name, and being that her
Mhm.
name is going to be, people are going to be talking about her after whether the 30 or 90 days are over. So just
Mhm.
thinking from your aspects, like, where could you see Mandy Rose going forward in wrestling?
I mean, to be honest, I would like to see her stay in the North American kind of area, not just because um, I want to keep Stardom off of off of some radars, but because I feel her style would fit a lot better in the North American. I feel that she'd be more marketable and bankable in North America than she would in Japan. Not to say that she wouldn't be able to hang there. Like I had mentioned privately, I thought that she would actually be able to have a great match with Saya Kamitani, because Kamitani is just one of those girls who she's very good at correcting things on the fly if something does go wrong. And she's very, very good about making things look absolutely over the top extravagant. And I feel that that would probably help Mandy Rose quite a bit. Um, in regards to North American, though, I think Impact would probably actually be the best place for her. Um, I feel that there's some talents that she could probably feud with really, really well in there. I would love to see her tangle with Giselle Shaw. I feel like that could be a battle of the beauties, battle of the diva there. I think that would be really, really fun to see. I feel like Diana could probably actually bring some stuff out of her too, and even Tasha Steeles. So I think that if we look at the rosters, I think that she would probably do very, very well there. Just because I feel like Camille in NWA would probably destroy her.
Yeah, we like Mandy enough that we don't want her to die. Let's just say it that
Yeah,
way.
yeah. I mean, but
Yeah.
how pretty of a tag team could that be though? Camille
Mm.
and Mandy Rose. You know, those bombshell blondes that are just absolutely jacked. That could be a good tag team too. So maybe NWA could be a place for her. Or maybe she
That's
could
true.
be in the impact zone and be a way for Camille to segue into there.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, based on like the recent comments from NWA, I would try not to be a woman in NWA at the moment. But at
Yeah.
least with places like Impact, you have the liberty of not only being an Impact, but you can do outside dates as well. So I think that would
Mhm,
be something for her, and give fans an opportunity to actually meet her as well, like outside of
mhm,
WWE, which is even more difficult to like see her.
mhm,
But I think about also the way we were talking about Mercedes, just talking about Mandy as well. She's
mhm,
somebody that could be not only she marketable as it is, but she has already so many projects, even one working for WWE, because she has the Mandy's Donuts that she has with Sonia Deville. She
mhm,
has, I know, like a workout app that she has too, plus her content. And I don't know if she had some kind of quality line, something along those lines too.
mhm,
So she already has had projects before, even while wrestling. So I can
mhm,
just imagine how the bus is gonna be when her time it's up for her to show up on TV somewhere. So it's like imagine I never thought about her in AEW though as much as I would like to see her with Soraya and like returning in that aspect because they were together for a little bit. But I
mhm,
feel like for me, I could see him more impact than with the girls there, and I
mhm,
feel like the girls have such a good like supportive locker room there because of the talent that we've seen on Impact, and people like Diana who could easily just like help her improve. I know
mhm,
she, going to NXT for her was probably a risk, but at the same time, it was a great risk because not only she was able to just bring something new to her name and just show off like she can hang with a lot of great people in the ring. It just when I think about it from a fan aspect, like watching her on a weekly basis, not only did she improve, but thinking about this historic title and if she had, imagine like having the title for what 413 days, I think it was before she lost it.
mhm,
Having the third longest NXT Women's Championship reign in NXT, and just sad at this point, or even like just bitter, just thinking like this is how it ended, and just so suddenly like this, and just like
mhm,
I knew Roxanne was gonna be champion eventually. I knew that she was getting built up to be that champion. I
mhm,
just expected it to happen more towards WrestleMania weekend to give us a little bit more built up in the last couple of weeks. So it
mhm,
just at the same time it's disappointing that it happened the way it happened because I also wanted Roxanne to win the championship on a big stage and have that being highlighted, whether it,
mhm,
towards a pay-per-view weekend and get that aspect of it. But at the same time, I'm happy for Roxanne being a fan of hers. Now she's champion. I know that the way she has been built up, I hope she has a longer reign than Mandy. I would like to see something like that happening. I feel like it's not often that you see longer reigns back to back, but I would like to see something like that with where Roxanne, not only but because I'm a fan, but also because it will give you like that tiny girl, that kind of underdog feel to her, and like having her go against so many people and and defeat them. I think that I would like to see something like that in my TV. But like I said, I'm happy for Roxanne. She's a role model to not only young girls because of her age, but like Latinas as well because of her background. So I think it's just she's a great choice to also replace Mandy. I don't know if you were able to see that. I don't know if I sent it to you, but even just seeing that clip of like Mandy, I'm glad at the same time she did what she did because I feel like the crowd showed her a lot of respect even when she lost the
mhm,
championship and without knowing she was released too. Um,
mhm,
it just seeing the crowd just chanting "Thank you, Mandy," and the way she bowed down to them like she knew that was the end for her somehow. And even now, so many people online, even though you've seen a little bit of negativity as well, but
mhm,
if you think about it this way, I've seen so many people supporting her and so many people thinking like if you can like just boost up her website or follow what she does next to like support her in that aspect because if you think about it too, she just lost her job on almost in the holiday time, which is
mhm.
something else to think about too. But I'm just hoping that she stays motivated enough with the support from the fans to keep going, whether she decides to go back to wrestling or just keep going with her outside projects. It's just a wait and see. But I don't know if you had any final thoughts about the Mandy situation.
No, I feel that we both got out enough of what we felt about her, and myself not being a regular WWE watcher, I do kind of feel like a little blind to the situation, and because like the last time I had seen Mandy Rose was when she still had the collar thing around her neck,
Mhm.
and she really was not that good. A huge improvement for her now. I mean, look at her 400 plus day title reign. That's something. Um, yeah, I don't have a ton to add just because I feel like I would be rambling at this point.
Yeah.
What a conversation today, Astrid.
Yeah, I think it's
Ladies are
also
in the
important,
news.
yeah, to ladies being discussing how we feel as ladies. And it's something that
Mhm,
you think about it from your aspect, like it can happen to not only her but any lady whatsoever. Because we had, like you said, people like Zelina who had a similar website, but Zelina had it, she said, to share cosplay content. So her content was not as close in any way to Mandy's.
mhm,
But imagine thinking like telling them, it's like, you can't do this because you're an independent contractor, when they should have that liberty to do things like that. And that's why in that aspect I love in what AW lets people their roster do, because they get
mhm,
to do outside dates as well, just like Impact does. They have the
mhm,
Twitch and they have the OnlyFans and things like that. It's
mhm,
just, even as a contractor, I think they're people. They should be allowed to do as many jobs as they can. It's like me, if I want to get a second job, my first job can tell me I can get a second job and vice versa. So I think about it in that aspect. It's like you can't limit what they do in that. If they want to have more jobs, more projects, that's up to them. And not
mhm,
only I think about it this way, but it's just I'd rather have that second job, and that you can get built up and you can build your brand and build your name from it in some way, shape, or form, because you're not gonna be wrestling forever. So that way,
mhm,
whenever you decide to either retire or something like this happens, like when she gets
mhm,
released, then you have that backup plan of like, this is what I want to do going forward. Because
mhm,
I feel like a lot of people don't think, but when it comes to wrestling, you need to have that backup plan, because physically you can't be wrestling forever as much as you want to. So you always need to have that, that thing of like, I want to do this next, and kind of have the list of goals of the projects that you want to do next, and build your name up in somewhere like WWE so people get to know you and your brand. But then whenever you decide to walk away, then you have something else to fall back on, which is very important as well in wrestling,
mhm,
because a lot of people don't think about that.
mhm, mhm. And that's something that we gotta also keep in mind when we're going to some of these like local shows and seeing some of these old legends coming out. They might not necessarily be wrestling because they necessarily want to be. They might physically be just, completely shot. But wrestling doesn't give you a pension. And if you got to pay to go through life. If you have to pay through for everything, once you stop wrestling, that's when the money stops. So you're absolutely right. A lot of wrestlers now are really showing that they're getting that backup plan, because there's also the potential that they could get hurt and that could end their career. Goodness forbid we have another draws situation, or somebody breaking something and they can't work for how many months, or a year or whatever. That's a lot of money that they're going to be out. And if they're injured, then on top of that, they have to pay for the injury
Mhm.
treatment if they're not Canadian. So that's
Mm.
it's always something that we got to also take into consideration with all of these wrestlers, not even just the ladies, but especially when the ladies are having to
Mhm.
pay to look a certain way.
Mm. Yeah, before we head out, I wanted to let everybody know I'm gonna be rating Women's Wrestling Talk in just a few minutes. But before we do, what do you have going on this week? Now, where can the people find you?
Oh goodness, I am finally coming to the end of our, as I mentioned, our tournament kind of craziness here. It is Friday, right after the show here. We're actually going to be dropping our latest edition of the December 14th show, where we showcased the NJPW's World Tag League and Super Junior Tag League finals, where we saw Bishamon and Aussie Open fight for the World Tag League title, championship trophy things. And we also saw Leo Rush and Yo taking on Bullet Club's Ace Austin and Chris Bay. Really, really great show. You guys want to check that out. I'm also going to be posting the third episode of Melball's Mix right after we get off of here. So you want to check out that. Me doing some kind of shot of alcohol that knocks me on my butt for a few days. Next week, Andre and I are going to be catching a live show. We're going to be catching the Top Talent show and releasing a Chop Talk on the following Friday with that. Otherwise, we are going to be good for the holidays. Thank goodness. If you're wanting to follow me on Twitter, you can find me at Collins Melball. If you're wanting to follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you can find me at Melball Collins. You can also follow my NJPW and Stardom Wrestling Talk at Andre and Melball's Wrestling Talk.
Look at that busy lady now. Look at her.
So busy.
For me, you can find me Tuesdays when taking over with Ed, talking about NXT. So this is the week when we get the follow up from Roxanne winning the championship. So that should be exciting to open the show. And also this week, I just like Mel was saying, she's going to the Top Talent show. My co-host Cody is skipping my show to go to that show to meet Masha and Josh. I'm jealous, but I'm also kind of bittersweet towards him going there. But as much as I hate him leaving me for one day, I'm gonna have Ed for one night only do an Impact with me as well. So we're gonna have a double dose of Ed and my stuff for this week. So Ed is gonna be talking Impact with me. So that's gonna be exciting to have him watch something that he hasn't watched in a little bit and see his reaction about the show. So I'm looking forward to that too. You can find
Yay,
also my NXT review on Women's Wrestling Talk on their website, which I probably be writing today or tomorrow, most likely. But yeah, other than that, you can just go on my socials and you can find everything. Just make sure if you're on Twitch, if you can subscribe, that will be pretty appreciated. But either way, you can follow the channel to support, and that way you get alerted when we go live and do things like this. And if you're on YouTube, definitely subscribe. It's free. It's not going to cost you anything to do so. And you can go back and watch our past episodes there and making an impact there. And my Astrid Ask as well. Working on a couple of things. I just had 3 interviews I had to reschedule. So hopefully soon I have something up for Astrid Ask. So definitely be patient with me when it comes to that. It hasn't been easy trying to find people to interview. But I'm loving what I'm doing and loving the content of like that how I'm doing something different almost every week with everybody that I'm working with. So that's exciting as well. But yeah, we appreciate all the support. But I'm gonna here head over and start setting up the raid for Women's Wrestling Talk and what they have going on. So thank you everybody for watching. We'll hopefully either be live or recorded. We'll see how that goes 2 weeks in the next 2 weeks. So we'll figure that out sooner or later. But thank you so much everybody for the support. We'll see you later.
bye.